Hey everyone, how's it going? It is Baz, and I am back. I made it 3 or 4 days without PGM, and I had to buy the engine. I couldn't even make the sell. So here we are, and we are going to make an enemy today, and we're going to make it aggro you, and we're going to have you attack and destroy it. It's might be a longer video. One quick thing that I noticed is that when we hit these pots, the heart won't appear if you're too close, if you already pick it up. If we had a HUD, you would see that we already picked it up. And I just want to refactor this real quick, show you guys. Let's go to life and let's go to our destroy. And we want to see the heart initially. We don't care if it's just quick, but we just want to see it just so that we know that it was a heart. So we're going to add in the runtime action a wait. We're going to do this runtime action only, meaning that this object is the only thing that's going to wait. And we're going to do it for 0.03 of a second. And then we're going to click on it and we're going to move it, just click hold and move it above the destroy object. And now let's hit play. And you'll notice that when you hit the pot and keep moving, you saw the heart for a second, but you picked it right up. And so it just looks a lot better. It gives the player some kind of visual that there was a heart that did drop, you just picked it up instantly. Okay, so now let's get into the enemy. I have linked an image for you, and it is this log guy right here. It is 6x4. I'm also going to cruise through this. We should know this by now. We're now going to go to animations. We're going to create an animation. We'll just call it log enemy. Register it to the log sprite. Click OK, OK. Now this log sprite, real quick, he's got a few motions. He's got a sleeping idle state. He's got a wake up animation, and then he's got walking. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a sleep, a wake up, a go back to sleep, and then a walking animation. So the first one is sleeping, and there's only one direction. And the frame is, oh, let's go back to sleeping on the motions, and let's click looping because we do want it looping. And we are going to do, the sleep is going to be slow, so let's do 25 frames per frame here, and then we will copy paste. Or actually, before we do that, we need to set up our, let's go to log enemy here, let's click floor, and let's set up our detections. This is very important. So we want on the wall detection here, oh, I had this off, that's why we couldn't see it initially. On the wall detection here, we want to be pretty accurate, or sorry, this is the collision detection. See, it's funny how they get confused. Okay, so let's turn this off so we know. Okay, so we want the collision detection to be right here is good. Again, I forgot on collisions, you want to be a little more lenient for the player. And that looks good. I'll go one tile around the actual sprite. And now let's go to the wall detection. So let's click collision off and have the wall on. And we'll just do what I feel he should be hitting walls with, which that's about right. Okay. And now we'll turn him, we can turn them both back on, that's fine. So now we can take that frame, we can copy paste it, pick that, pick that, pick that. And now we can hit play, turn these off, hit play, and it's a nice sleeping motion. He's nice and relaxed. And that's cool. So we will copy and paste the sleeping. We will call this the wake up. This is not going to be looping because it's just going to be a one thing. It only does have one direction. And we're going to delete these since we don't need them, so we can delete them. And I'll change this to 10 frames. We want him to wake up rather quickly. And the first frame is going to be this one when he's down. And we can make sure that our hit detections, yep, they stayed accurate. Good. And I'll just keep them on actually. And then we will copy, paste this. So we should have all the frames, and we can hit play just to check. Good. He gets up. Looks good. Now we're going to copy paste. We're going to call this back to sleep. And everything is exactly the same. The only thing we're doing is we're changing the first frame to this last frame and the last frame to the first frame, because the middle frame is still the middle frame. And we'll play just to make sure. Yep, he's going right back down to sleep. And now we will, it doesn't matter which one we take at this point. We'll, since sleeping's looping, let's just take that. And we'll call this walking. And this one has specific directions. So we will rename this one to down. And we will start with the frames. We'll pick walking down here. And we'll also do this to about 8. I think 8, is that what we did the player to when he was walking? Yeah, we did 8. 8 looks good. So we'll just stick with that. We'll go to walking, down, 8 frames. We'll copy the 8. I'll bring it down to this while selecting the second walking frame. I'll paste that while selecting the third walking frame. And I'll go to this last one. Paste the 8 while selecting the last walking frame. And now we'll play. Yeah, looks good. He's walking pretty smooth. Now we set the direction, copy paste. Y'all should be pros at this by now. And this is left, so we want it to be facing left. We want this to be the left one. Make sure it's the one with the eyes on the left side. And then we're switching these animations here. And walking on that looks good. Now we're going to do a cool little trick here. We're going to copy paste. We're going to name this right. We are going to change, let's get this like that, yeah. Remember, to get the frame, sometimes you got to click off and back on. Going to get the right here. So, and then, where was it? Yep, on these frames, we're going to right click the top one, shift click the last one, you'll select all the frames, and we're going to flip horizontal. And that basically took what you did on the left frame and flips it horizontally, and it makes it to where he will walk just like that when he's walking right. So when you are setting up your sprite sheets, you technically do not need a left and a right. You can get away with just one direction. Now, if you come from Unity or something, that will make more sense. From RPG Maker, this will be a nice feature you can start using. So now let's click on, we don't want up to inverse, so I'll copy left. Make sure I did set that right. Okay, so we will call this one up. Oops. Up, yeah, like that. Up, take off the left, put on the new sprite for the up facing, and play. And it looks good. And just that simple, we created an enemy. We have all these walking animations, and we have a back to sleep, a wake up, a sleeping. That took us a few minutes to set up all of these. Really, really cool. All right, now let's go to objects, and let's see here. Oh yeah, I already showed you that. Okay. So we're going to add, we're going to call this the log enemy, and we are going to set the animation to log enemy. It's going to be an enemy group, and we're just going to leave it like this for now. There's going to be some things that come up that might not make sense, but for now, this is a fine base to work with. Okay, and now we're in log enemy, and we are going to have the first motion a sleeping motion, just like an idle, and we'll call this sleeping /idle. just in case you want some clarification what the sleeping is. And then we will make another action, and this one will be called the wake up. This will be set to wake up, the only direction. And then we'll need another action. This will be walking, or it'll actually be moving towards player. Basically when he's aggro. And that will be walking, yeah. And we're not going to set that because we want it for input. And this, let's see, let's start with this for now. So he's going to be sleeping and he's going to be idle. And there's really nothing that we need. But we do need a trigger for him to wake up. And then after he's done waking up, we need him to start moving towards the player. So we know the easy way. We already know it's an easy transition from wake up to moving towards player, and that's if the motion animation plays to the end. It's simple. He just wakes up and then he goes to moving towards the player. But we need a way to aggro to have the enemy log wake up. And so there's a couple ways we can do this. We can actually go in here and we can say under a transition. Okay, so let's add a link right now since we're here. We can add a link under the transition and we can say if the distance with another object, and then we can specify the object, specify the dots. I think we've actually done this with maybe the particle. I'm not sure now, but so we could do it that way. However, I'm going to show a different way, and it's going to help us progress learning this engine a little more too. So we're going to do a field of vision is what we're going to do. And you can basically think of it as a proximity area that that enemy recognizes. So we are going to click that we want one. We're going to hit OK. Again, this screen does nothing. You got to click on the tab. And we're going to add. And this is also where your lighting effects can come from too. However, we don't want lighting. We just want an aggro range. We'll just say that. The aggro range. We want it to be a field of vision, not a lighting. You can set a switch to start this and disable it, which will come in handy. We don't need it for this one. We're going to set the aggro radius for 360. And that's a dot count, remember. So if you're thinking in RPG Maker, MV tiles are 48. So you could think of it like that. How many tiles would you want? Times that by 48, kind of a thing. If you're needing a help on how big you should make it. And you can also scale the radius just using this. So you could keep the radius like this and scale it using these percentages. And then you can have a color. And real quick, I'm going to center it on this object. So you can set a color. And so this is when you are playing in the game. You can actually see the radius when you're playtesting like this. You can see the radius that it will aggro, which is really nice for playtesting. So actually 360 is way too big. So let's go 180. Let's just have that. Hit preview. And that's a lot better. So I'm just going to keep it at 180 now. You can also take it off. If for some reason you need a test where it's off, you can now have it off. We're going to have to scale them. Once again, I forgot. So, but we'll leave it on just because it makes it nice. We might turn it off when we start adding hit animations to the enemy. And so we're done here. We set up a field of vision and we are good to go. And so now the transition from sleeping to wake up is going to be discovered other object. And it's when you discovered the aggro range that is set by the player. And that way no one else. This is specifically the player. And we will hit OK. And so let's just test this. Well, first off, let's make him move. So let's move him, and we're going to say, we're going to do a template move setting. And in here, this was just the best way I could find to move towards a thing. So we're going to hit move towards nearby player, and we're going to prioritize the locked player. I honestly have no idea what the locked player means, but to me it sounds like it's the one that you're playing. And we'll just, I hope I can figure out what that means later. And we're just going to leave it like this, and we're going to hit OK. So now we're going to go in our scene. We're going to get an object. We're going to select the enemy log, and we're going to place it and then scale it to 200% here. And then we're going to hit play. We can see his aggro range, and as soon as we hit it with our collision, it's going to get up and it's going to start walking. And it follows. It has not the smartest pathing, but it has some kind of a pathing. For instance, it will get stuck on this tile, and you can also see that this field of vision is only affecting the player layer. It has no effect on the above layer. So if you have maps where you go onto an above layer, the bottom layer will, I'm guessing, and it would make sense, would not aggro you. And let's go back now to objects. And now we need to, if you're out of range, stop. So we have a wake up. Let's copy that, paste it. And I'm sorry if I'm moving pretty fast. I know this is going to be a long one, so I'm trying to move really fast. And most of these concepts should be understanding right now. Back to sleep is what we're going to name it, and we're going to call it the back to sleep. And we're going to add a link back to idle, and that will be if the motion plays fully. And then we're from walk, we're going to add a link, and it's going to be, oh yeah, we're going to go to this, the transition. Oh, right now it just automatically transitions. Right. Okay. So to get back to sleep, you would need to be out of the aggro range. That's right. So in this transition is where we hit the discovered. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to go down to here, and we're going to paste it. Now, this is where this condition setting gets pretty cool. So we click in, there's no place to say is not discovered. Well, we've done this a couple times. That's what this is for, is not discovered. So now that changes is discovered into is not discovered, and now it will go back to sleep and go back to its sleeping idle. And let's test that real quick. It's always good to test as you go. Okay, he aggroed, and now he's back to sleep, but he keeps walking. Okay, so let's fix that. The reason he keeps walking, I honestly do not know the answer to this, other than this move towards player just keeps going, so you have to stop it. So what we want to do is when it goes back to sleep, we want it to stop moving. And it should be just as simple as that. We're going to hit play, and we're going to aggro him, he moves, and then we're going to de-aggro him, he stops. We're going to aggro him, he moves, he follows, de-aggro him, he stops, goes back to idle. One thing I want to adjust is his move settings. I want to give him a little faster speed. I'm going to give him double the speed to 2. And while we're here, we do not want to push him. We don't want him blinking during invincibility. And we will leave temporary invincibility, but we will be coming back and changing this here in a second. So now back to our idle program. We have a nice loop. He gets up, he moves towards the player. When you're out of his range, he stops, goes back to sleep. So now we need to, what if this enemy gets hit? So we're going to create an action. We're going to call this hit by player. We'll just be specific like that. You could just say hit or something. And this is going to be, we'll make him do the back to sleep motion while he's hit, so it looks a little cooler. And we're also going to increase the speed because we want to give him a little bounce back when we hit him. And so let's leave it like that. And so when we click, when the enemy is moving towards the player and you hit him with the attack detection, that's going to be the link. When hit by an attack detection from all sides by the player specific object. We're going to hit OK. And then we're going to add a link back. And let's get that a little straighter. There we go. And on this one, we are going to transition with a wait after a certain time passes. And I believe 0.3 is what I ended up using. So we're going to try that, and then we're going to go back to basic settings, and we're going to set the invincibility to also 0.3. That way, during the knockback, he is invisible or invincible. So let's give this a shot real quick. I know this is getting a little longer, but it's working. Oh, okay. So we are doing it, because if you notice, he is changing stances, but we're not moving him back. And that's because we did not set the move back. So let's go to template move settings, click on that, and we're going to want to move away from player. So we're moving away this time, and we're going to hit OK. And so now you can see that we're moving towards the player here. If we're hit, we're moving away from the player. But if we're out of aggro range, then we're stopped moving. So you can see how this move template, this template move setting can be just switched around on all these different states at ease. So now let's try it. Now let's swing our sword and hit him. Okay, there we go. There's the knockback we like in our Zeldas. There we go. Okay. And he goes back, wakes up, hit him again, goes back. So, and you can also have it to where when he is aggro, his range becomes bigger, meaning that you have to get out of range a lot farther away before he goes back into idle. But that's something else. Details. So what we're going to do now is when the player's hit, we want him to kind of flash red and look like he's getting hit. So we're going to come to add a runtime action. We're going to apply a filter. We're going to click on that. We're going to select a color. And I don't know why this is the case, but opacity, I found 150. Just trust me on that. And then we're going to set these hues to 100 and 100. And time until completion, we want it to be instant. We just want it to be instant for now. And we're going to hit OK. We're also going to move it above move settings so that it happens right away when the player's hit. Now, there is going to be an issue, and I just want you to see it. So we set it to get hit and apply a filter. And then when it goes back to the state, there's no filter, so maybe it should go back to normal. Well, let's test that and see what we need to do here. So you hit it, it turns red, but it stays red. And matter of fact, let's turn off, go to field of vision, turn off our selected colors. This way we can see the filter better. So we aggro it, we hit it, it turns red, but it doesn't stay red. And that is because we have to, in the moving towards the player, we have to reset it because it goes back to moving towards player. So we'll reset it in moving towards player. And that will be a simple delete the filter and you can just say all and it will delete all filter. However, if we do a filter later that we want to keep even while it's moving, so I'm just going to do this, delete the selected color, and we want to do it within 0. And you can blend them maybe, and it might look even better. Let's try it, 0.1, and then let's go back here and try this as 0.1, and just, I've never tried this, so we'll see how this looks. So you're going, you aggro him, you hit him, he turns red while he's going back, and then he turns back to normal. So that's good. And now we need a death state. So we're going to add an action. We're going to call this destroy. And we're not, well, let's set back to sleep. And we are going to destroy the object here. So this is, we'll just get that on there right now. And when we hit the player is when we want the health to be checked. If you remember, in basic settings, each object has a health, an attack, and then this blue thing that I don't know what it does. But while we're here, let's set the health. Let's give him 3. So he'll take 3 hits to kill him. And then we're not going to worry about him doing damage to us in this video. But so we'll just keep it like this. So now we're going to check every time that the player's hit if the health is 0 for this object self. And that will lead to a destroy. So let's see if it works. Let's just see, test as we go. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was nice. It kind of was sudden, kind of didn't feel right. So we are going to change that. We want to, first off, if the enemy is 0, he will be destroyed, but we want to do it after a certain amount of time. So we're going to come to wait, and we're going to wait 0.3, basically the time that the knockback was initially. And we're going to do it for this runtime action only, for this object's runtime. And then we're going to click on it, click move it, and drag it above destroy object. So now let's try it and see if that looks a little better. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and he didn't move back. And let's see here. The move template. Okay. And we should probably do this after a certain amount of time passes. So here, let's try doing 0.3 here instead and just see, and we'll click and, so it's both. So now let's try it, see if it works. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that doesn't work either. Well, let's see here. Let's see what I'm doing wrong. Maybe I'll change this to 0.2, and that way it won't be enough time, because right here it says after 3 seconds. So let's try after 2 seconds and see if this one can trigger first. Yeah, let's try that. And we'll click play. 1, 2, 3. There he goes. Okay, but we didn't need the wait on this destroy. So yeah, let's get rid of that and try it again. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay. And we'll just leave it at that as far as timing goes. I'm sure there's better ways we can do it. Now, there's one last thing that would just make this even better, and that would be a particle effect whenever we hit the player. So let's real quick jump back into our animations, add an animation. We want it to be a particle. We're going to call this a hit animation. Yeah, hit, that's fine for now. And we're going to do a sparks. We're just going to do the base one. We can preview it here again, and that looks good. It looks like you're hitting. So we're going to hit OK, and it's ready to go. So let's go back into our object. Let's hit right here where it says hit by player. We're going to add a particle effect. We're going to show sparks. We're going to use it on the center of this object, and there's going to be no time limit. We want it to just go all the way. And then we're going to move this right after, or right above actually, even the filter effect. So let's click play. Let's see how that looks. Sparks. Looks really, really good. And there's ways to clean this ending up. If I figure it out, I will let us all know. But so yeah, that's a wrap for this video. We basically, I'll go over the states right here real quick. We made a sleeping idle, and then when you get in range, you wake up the object. He moves towards you. When you get out of range, he goes back to sleep and then goes to idle. When he's moving towards you, then you can hit him, and when he's hit by the player, he shows a particle effect. He changes filters, and it's checking for his life at the same time, and once it equals 0, it destroys the object. So yeah, a lot in this video. Thanks for staying the course, and we'll get to more videos soon.